I was running back for Forest High School. First game I ever played, I think I scored 6 touchdowns. 2 got called back. Right. It was a robbery. I mean, those things, you just didn't go to Vanguard. I mean, I'm going to tell you this. The first time I've ever been in Vanguard's weight room was last year. And I've been coaching for over about 30 years. I've never stuck foot over at Vanguard. You know what I mean? And I knew Tyrone was that guy. Because, I mean, you know, if you go on Friday nights, if you didn't get there at a certain time, you wouldn't get in Booster Stadium. I mean, it was that packed. Right. And that's what I'm saying. That's most people don't see that now, how hard it was for a black quarterback to play quarterback. I remember in Emmitt Smith's game, I got hurt. I got hurt in the first half. I hurt my knee. And then I still played, but came back the second half. And I think one of my linemen fell on top of me. And that was the end. So I was out the game. Because you got to remember that time, I think we were up. We only got beat 35-21. But we were up at halftime. So we did have the guys to compete and play with. You know, when I was coming out of high school, everybody thought I was a football player anyway. They didn't understand I played baseball longer. I played baseball since I was 6, 7 years old. And so I didn't play football, you know, until my 8th grade year. So baseball is really my first love. I mean, I was good at football, but I mean, baseball is my first love. So anyway, I ended up, you know, signing out of high school with Clemson because that's what people talk about. They don't remember that too because I was going to go to Notre Dame. That was my first.
Okay, when you say Clemson, you talking about in football or baseball?
I was going to play both.
Let's talk about communication. Let's talk about the love. Let's talk about communication. Oh, let's talk about the love. Let's talk about communication. Let's talk about the love. Let's talk about communication.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your host, William Robinson, coming at you live tonight from the studios of TLC, Talk, Love, and Communication. Today on the episode of My Story, we had a one and only Tony Cason, Forest High School great, ladies and gentlemen. This man is very influential in our community. He's an educator. He has been an educator for many, many years in our community. He has affected many, many lives, ladies and gentlemen. And without further ado, we're going to give this young man a special round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, how's it going there, Mr. Cason?
Everything's good.
How the ride over was, man? Everything good?
It was good. Just my GPS got me a little lost, but
GPS got you a little lost.
I wish you just told me it's back where it was. It would have been easier.
Told you the one and only, the old food stamp office, huh?
That's all you had to say.
So speaking of them old days, man, growing up in Ocala, what was it like growing up in Ocala?
I mean, it was a little different. I mean, we had more things going on as a kid. I grew up first. I mean, I know most people don't know this, but I went to Dunn middle school in elementary because I grew up a little further down in Cotton Plant because that's where my dad was working. That's where we lived. I went to Dunn Elementary till 5th grade, and then I moved, and then I ended up going to Howard, and then I went to Forest.
Oh, you went to that? So you a bull, huh?
Yes, sir.
Do you know the history of Howard High and how, you know, it became Ocala Vanguard and Ocala Forest?
Yeah, I just knew that when the school split from segregation that, you know, Forest took the gold and Vanguard took the blue.
And a lot of people don't know that. That's why, you know, the traditional gold and green come from Forest and the red and the blue for Vanguard.
True. So that's why, you know, one year somebody tried to change the colors back to green and white, which that was the very Ocala Forest High, not Forest High School. Forest High School is green and gold.
That is correct. And speaking of Forest High School, you've been an educator for many years, correct?
Yes, sir.
You want to take us through that journey?
First, I started off when I got back from baseball. I worked at Bellevue High School. Jim Yancey gave me a chance to come down and coach and start my career because I never thought I was going to be in education. When I got out of baseball, he asked me, did I want to, you know, teach? Wayne ended up hooking me up with that. So I was at Bellevue for about 5 or 6 years and started off there. And Brent Hall was there. I did football freshman, then I moved up to JV, and then I stayed there for 6 years, did baseball. Then I ended up, Wayne Yancey ended up getting a job back at, he was already a job baseball, but he got the football job. So I came, not the first year he was there, but the second year, and I came back to Forest.
And you kind of been at Forest ever since, correct?
Yes,
Yes, and you also played for Forest High School.
correct.
And what was that like back in your days? You graduated in what, 87?
87, I graduated. At that time, I think I was a freshman when Rick Toot and a lot of those guys were already, be seniors being recruited to go to school. But back then, you had more history, more people wanted to be involved in sports. Kids don't come to games, and the enthusiasm is not the same as it used to be back then. We had these pet rallies in the old auditorium.
Yeah.
I mean, most now we have pet rallies now. Kids want to leave and go home, but then everybody wanting to come, pack it, and
School spirit,
yeah, and show up to football games. Most kids don't come anymore to games.
And why do you think that is?
I think it's social media. You got so many other things going on. Kids want to party. Kids want to vape. Kids want to smoke. Weed is the biggest thing now for these kids, and not just hanging out with their friends and not want to be with school spirit.
Right. I was out to the game this year and I seen old Willie and Wiley Wildcat.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't seen them in quite a few years. That's the mascot for Forest High School. And a lot of times, man, you go to these games, even on the sideline, there's not much emotion from the kids.
Mm-hmm. It's because they got some other things going on, man. Some kids got jobs, girlfriends. Football ain't. I guess I can bring it like to me. For me, I knew it was a way for me to get to school because I didn't want my parents to have to pay for me to go for education or school, college. I mean, my parents worked hard, but they probably would have helped me get to school, but I didn't want that to be a burden on them. So I knew sports and education was going to be the way for me to get to college.
So let's take it back to you played Little League football?
I started football in the 8th grade. I never played, I played with the Tigers out to MCYFL. Charlie Johnson, which is an old-time coach that was coaching out the MCYFL for the longest. He saw me play baseball and asked me if I wanted to play football. And so I went. And that was my first year ever starting playing organized football. And
when you went, so that's the 8th grade. Then you go to the 9th grade. Now walk us through your 9th grade season.
My 9th grade year, I ended up playing. I was running back for Forest High School. First game I ever played, I think I scored 6 touchdowns. 2 got called back. That year was just one of those years. I guess I was pretty good.
You kind of said that with a nice little smirk on your face about them 6 touchdowns.
Yeah, it was. I think 2 got called back, but I had 6. My first game that I ever played in front of high school.
And one thing about that, once those 6 touchdowns get called and that spread around, man, that's on from there.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's what it is. Some people knew me from MCYFL. I've always was fast, but I was back then you got to understand, while Vanguard Knights were always the better team out there because they always had all the athletes on that team. Even kids who were going to Forest played on that team.
Right.
You know what I mean? So those teams were stacked. So my team, we had some of the kids were going to Forest, but we didn't have as many athletes as everybody else had. But I know I stood out because I played everything. I kick, punt, quarterback, running back. I played it all.
Wherever the ball was going, they wanted it in your hand.
I always were in my hand.
So did you wind up beating them that year or they still won?
No, they still won. Yeah, but I knew I was going to see them again in high school.
And what happened when you got to high school?
High school, I think we beat them. I know my junior year, we blew them out. My junior year, that's when the year we were undefeated. We went 11-0 during the season. And I think that game, it rained. I think they ended up wanting to call it a little quicker than what it should have been because we was going to try to score 60 if we could.
Yeah. And see, I don't think today they understand the rivalry of Forest and Vanguard.
Nah,
that was like Florida State and Florida. That was like Ohio State and Michigan in Marion County. You know what I mean?
Right. It was a rivalry. Those things, you just didn't go to Vanguard. I'm going to tell you this. The first time I've ever been in Vanguard's weight room was last year. And I've been coaching for over about 30 years. I've never stuck foot over at Vanguard in the weight room.
That felt funny, huh?
Yeah, because that's like when people say, I'm going to go and coach here or coach there. Nah, that was never going to be a place for me to ever coach.
And to me, even I coached a few years, and it means more. It just, you put more passion into it when it's your team that you played for. You walked in this locker room, you wore that jersey. When you explain to the kids about the team spirit, it's more authentic. You know,
it is, because you can't explain about something that you never played at or been at. You know what I mean? I've been at Forest, even though we're at the new school, but I still know the tradition, all the people we've had to come through here, all the athletes we've had. I know those things. And I know the people who, blood, sweat, and tears. And I know what it takes to be a winner.
About 2 years ago, I interviewed a quarterback from Vanguard, pretty good quarterback. I always used to say he was the first Dante Culpepper, and that's Ronnie Jones. And I talked to him about who did he look up to, who did he aspire to be like when he played quarterback. And he mentioned this player by the name of Tony Cason. And he told stories about how, good you were, and how does it feel to hear great players that come after you inspire to be the player that you were, sir?
Well, that's the thing you're supposed to do. I know back then, little kids came to games, so they got to see me. I see guys now that talked about that. They came and watched me play. But that's why you have to lead by example, because you never know who's watching you, who wants to idolize you and be who you are. I know my thing was, Tyrone Young was mine because he was at Forest. I know days I've had practice and I see Tyrone walk across the field. He come to practice. And that's how we became a friendship and talking with each other. But those are the things I remember more. So when those guys hand things down to me, I try to hand it down to the other people. And even though me and Ronnie didn't cross paths that much, I read it, I knew that he analyzed me a little bit. But it was just one of those things that, it wasn't that many black quarterbacks either in Ocala.
Right.
Because you got to remember, I'm the second black quarterback that ever played at Forest.
Who was the first?
Tyrone Young.
Tyrone.
Of my knowledge.
And looking back, as you as a mature man, how important was that for you as a young Afro-American to look up and see someone look like you doing something you inspired to do? How did it elevate you, Well,
I think back then, I didn't think of it as big as it is now, as being a black quarterback. I just looked at me as an athlete playing football. You know what I mean? And I knew Tyrone was that guy. Because if you go on Friday nights, if you didn't get there at a certain time, you wouldn't get in Booster Stadium. It was that packed. And I know you don't remember this, but we had the reels that we used to have in the portables.
Oh, I know the reels.
So you can put those on, and you can see the standing people at the stadium. You can just see Tyrone. Everybody came to watch him play. And, things is, he ended up going to college and they ended up switching his position. But, that's what I'm saying. Most people don't see that now, how hard it was for a black quarterback to play quarterback.
And especially at Forest High School.
True.
The history of Forest High School. And that's a shout out to the coaching staff that was willing to, just like, Coach Simmons. Coach Simmons tell you, as we both know, Coach Simmons, nothing come before winning.
Right. Yeah.
I understand you donated $5,000 to the Booster Club, but the goal is
to win.
Coach Simmons gonna win.
He's gonna win.
And
definitely.
All said and done, nothing matters but winning.
Yes, it does.
And that mentality as a head coach, and me being a player under him, that pushed off into me and then a lot of areas of my life. Winning is everything.
It's everything. I'm competitive still to this day. That's probably mostly from him because, most of my coaching came, football-wise, starting that way is with Coach Simmons. He expected you to do the certain things a certain way, and that's the way he wanted it.
What's the greatest advice, what have you gathered most from him? If you had to sum up everything about Coach Simmons in a few words or a few sentences, what would it be?
Consistency.
He definitely is the same.
He's the same.
He's 81, and for me to see him right now, he's the same
he
man.
Is.
I know.
And that's the thing I told my wife a couple of weeks ago because she thinks he's an angel. She loves him. She thinks he's gentle, soft. I said, you just know this side of him. He's a different guy. But I mean, even like some of my buddies who I went to school with, even older guys. I mean, when they see Coach Simmons around, they all just clam up like, "Man, we ain't in high school anymore."
Yeah.
But I don't do it because they say, "Well, he was like your dad anyway, so he don't do you like we do me." But I don't know, man. It's just kind of funny now that we're good friends. I can text him, I can call him.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just what we do.
But you know what Coach Simmons said? I interviewed Coach Simmons, and those guys who clam up,
Yeah.
see, they wasn't you. See, Coach Simmons said he liked the first string the most, the second string the second, and the third string the least. He said,
It's gotta be there.
if you want to be you want to be on the top of the list, you better make first string.
Yeah.
And, I had the privilege, sir, of knowing him on a different level.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, they used to have a summer job, a little program where you could work over the summer.
Yeah, I
remember that? And he was my boss.
Right.
So I knew him a little bit before football.
Okay.
And, on a daily interaction level.
Right,
He was still Coach Simmons.
Right.
I didn't know him the coach. I knew him as the boss, the supervisor or whatever. And but he's stern and
Oh yeah, he is definitely.
He's funny.
Yeah.
Very, quick tongue. He's going to keep you on edge.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when a task was at hand,
Yeah.
it had to be done a certain
be
way,
done a certain
and
He knows how to maneuver, and he has a way with people.
Mm-hmm.
He knows how to handle you, me, and 3 other people different ways. He knows their personality. It's just what he's good at it. I mean, that's why he was so good at fundraising, coaching. I mean, these people loved him because he did everything. Because at one time he told me he didn't even want to boost the club. He raised his own money, and they said you can't do that. I mean, he wanted to cut those guys out and just be the coach and the head of the booster club. But that's the kind of guy he is because he raised money on his own. Because most people ain't going to turn him down. When he calls you, he's going to get the money from you.
So you think I could call him and get a donation right now?
Oh, I'm sure you can. I mean, he's probably going to have a little speech with you, but I mean, he will give you something.
Yeah, that's my partner, man. Coach
Yes,
Simmons,
sir.
pretty good dude.
He is.
So you play for Forest High School. Your junior year, you guys are 11-0. Y'all clean up everything around here. Y'all go into the playoffs, and you run into a man that made the number 22 famous by the name of Emmitt Smith.
Right.
As you sit here today, you look back on that game. Did you guys have what it take to win, or were they just a little too much?
We did, because you got to remember before that, well, I'm going to back up. The game before that, we played Edgar Bennett and Leroy Butley. They played for Jacksonville Lee, and they were ranked pretty high. So when we went in, you got to remember, we got there, we were down 21-0 halftime. So they told us we should get on the bus, go home, while y'all even came. So the second half, we come back, we end up beating them 22-21. I mean, that's probably one of the best games I've ever probably played in, high school wise. You know what I mean? Because I can remember at halftime, those guys, when they told us to go home, even at the end, we got in the locker room, got dressed, got ready to get on the bus to go home. They were still on the field. They was in shock because they didn't think we were going to come and beat them. I ran into the quarterback of, not that team, but the quarterback of Emmitt Smith's team in high school. And he remembers us playing in high school together and stuff like that. But that game, you got to remember, in Emmitt Smith's game, I got hurt. I got hurt in the first half. I hurt my knee. And then I still played, but came back the second half, and I think one of my linemen fell on top of me, and that was the end. So I was out the game. Because you got to remember that time, I think we were up. We only got beat 35-21, but we were up at halftime. So we did have the guys to compete and play with those guys.
I think I remember Coach Simmons saying, if you don't get hurt.
Right. It's a different game.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he was that type of player.
Yes, I was.
I remember the only other time I remember people making that kind of statement, and I was kind of ignorant to it. Kyrie Irving, remember he played for Duke.
Right.
And they were like, well, this guy can't be that good. He only played. And they were saying if he came back in the playoffs, they were saying Duke is going to win the championship.
Right.
And I'm thinking to myself, well, this is only one guy. Who do you think this guy is? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But one guy makes a difference.
He does make a difference. Definitely.
And when you're the quarterback and you're the leader, it's kind of like, I remember we coached together at the Forest.
Right.
And I had Brandon Tiller.
Yep.
Brandon Tiller, pretty good athlete.
Real good athlete.
He left freshman, straight to varsity. And I remember him being hurt. He was like having migraines. Looking back, it was headaches. He was having migraines, and the kids, the other kids. Now we're undefeated.
Right.
I ain't lost the game yet.
Right.
But the kids was like, "How we gonna win without Brendan?" You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like that one player deflated the whole team.
Right.
They felt as though we can win if Brendan's on the field.
Right. Right.
And I'm quite sure you the quarterback. You know, one thing about men in a locker room, a football team, everybody know who is who.
Right.
Everybody know where they stand. Everybody know why we winning. You might not say it out your mouth, but but everybody know who is who.
Right. Right.
And I'm quite sure that was a big blow to your team. And what was it? Did you feel like you let the team down, even though you was hurt?
No, never thought about it at that time like that. Because at that point, you got to remember, I still was young. At that time, because I got to remember, I was 17 when I graduated. So at that time, I was still just turning 16. A kid. But no, back then I never thought about that. Because I know I wanted to play in the game, but getting hurt is just part of the game.
You had track speed or football speed?
Both. It's a little different. I know some people got track, like Tony McCall has track speed, but I had football speed because I can run away from you. I know Coach Horner wanted me to run track, and I said, man, I don't want to run track. I said, what I have to? I said, I'll run. Just put my name on the list. When we have meets, I show up because I play baseball. So that was in the same time. So I said, how did you practice to run? Either you can run or you can't.
Yeah.
So he used to always mess with me about it, and I said, man, I ain't, because they ran a lot.
Yeah.
I said, man, I can just run. I don't need to practice.
That's typical when the sound go off.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Tell when I need to line up and run, that's it. But I never did. He always put my name on the list, but I never did run track.
And I remember interviewing you in a street interview at the Forest High School, and we talked about that very thing. You know, people that's gifted,
right,
like yourself. You know, it's like, well, I don't have to practice. I just,
right.
I'm gonna go out there and not run them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Just think about, I think about Tony McCall. You know, me and Tony was very close in high school, and it's the fastest guy in the world to me at the time that I've ever seen with my own eyes.
Right.
You know,
right.
And it's like, how do you practice? But Mark Mader would line us up in them blocks, line us across them 8 lanes,
right,
and on your mark, it said, "Pah!" and you run 25, 30 yards, and you go back, and you can see, because what he was teaching us helped me a lot as a football coach.
Right.
And I learned from track, not football.
Football, track.
I learned from track that when you're tired, you make mental errors.
Definitely.
Because as we getting in them blocks, you tired. You keep jumping outside. You jumping and going because you're tired. You're mentally fatigued.
Right.
And by him training and teaching us, it helps you not to jump.
Right.
And I remember we had a big meet. Remember Harold Washington?
Yeah, Harold.
Rod Rowe. And I think it was Gabriel Montgomery and me, myself. I'm the takeoff man. And I jumped. And now that's 3 other people can't even run the race.
Because you messed up.
Because I jumped.
Right.
And see that mental, but it was my first meet to where I'm normally I'm, second or third leg or something like that. But this is my first time out the block. Right. So I'm thinking, boy, I got to come out this, you know what I'm saying? And I'm thinking in my mind, what if they got a Tony McCall? I don't want to be last, so I'm trying to get up out this block.
There
and see, Coach Mader trained us that coming out the blocks is everything. And as I later in life, I used to, I don't have the little cars, race cars.
Right.
And I used to tell a joker, if you spinning, you in trouble. Because you got to come out that hole. If you could come out that hole, I can hold you off. If I could beat you out that hole, I can hold you.
You're right.
But there is a difference in football speed and track speed.
It is. It is different. A lot of difference. Because I've seen some fast kids that because you don't react the same as when you get a football in your hand. Because you got to have the football, you got to see who you're running against, and you got to be able to move and maneuver. Track, you're running. You just straight ahead. But you may have to cut. You may have to reverse the field. It's a lot of things you have to do. I mean, I could talk as in quarterback because I mean, I can roll one way, I got to roll back the other way, then I can take off. You know what I mean? Because most of I think like most in my touchdowns, even in college, is cutting across the green. Because most people are flowing, so all I'm doing is cutting back across. Because you can't stop and go the other direction. That's the hard thing to do.
And actually, when I'm cutting across, I'm running away from you.
Right.
So
right.
If we already equal speed, you're in a brother's trouble.
There you go.
Misdirection, is very important. So when you play quarterback, y'all ran more of an option offense or a traditional offense?
No, we ran most option. We didn't option out of the eye. Because when I was in college, we ran a little bit of both. We ran split back, veer. So that was a little different for me. Because in high school, it's more riding the guy and reading. But when I got to college, it's more, you got to stick it out, and they read, and you're reading the end as they come. It ain't riding them through the whole. Because you got to remember, when I was at Carson Newman, that's where I played college football at. Coach Sparks, who's probably one of the winningest coach in that division. He died about 3 years ago. But anyway, he came up with an offense in college, the split back and veer and all those plays we ran. But man, we had two guys that ran 4.2s. So I mean, I'm taking a step as I take the snap, because if I don't, I'm not going to get there, because they're just running straight here downhill in the A gap. And you got to get there. So I'm taking a snap and taking a snap at the same time. So that was a little bit more. It's a little harder than high school was. So
how was your college career?
It was good. You got to remember, I played baseball first, and then I went back to college because, I'm going to go back to the story. Because once I got out of baseball, I came back home, and I was going to go to the University of Florida, because I said my parents hadn't seen me play, because when you got to remember, when I played with the Mariners, I was traveling a lot. My dad was going to come out to Seattle one year, my second year, but he had hernia surgery, so he didn't make it. So they haven't really seen me play, about 3 years, because my parents never missed me playing high school, anything. They always was there. So then I said I was going to play closer to home. So when I was going to get into Florida, Spurrier had just got to Florida. And so I ended up talking to him a little bit, and he was checking in some things. But back then, if you play professional sport, you couldn't play in the SEC. So that's why I didn't go to Florida. And you got to remember, I hadn't played in 3 years, too. I was just playing baseball. And so I ended up, Coach Simmons ended up calling Coach Sparks and said, I got a guy for you. And I mean, they wouldn't call him back. They're messing around. He says, I'm trying to help you guys. I'm sending you guys somebody who can really play. So finally, I went up on a visit. I'm in my street clothes. I'm dressed. They make me jump in and run plays. And he says, hey, we got a scholarship for you.
And you ain't played in 3?
I ain't played in 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
You going on a visit. Get in there.
Yeah.
The good old days.
The good old days. I mean, you got to show them what you can do. It ain't film, ain't no other stuff. They want you to get in and do it in person.
Get on in there and do it. No cleats, no nothing. Get on in there and show me.
That's it, man. So
looking back, how was that experience? I mean,
it was a good experience. I know, most people said, well, when I was coming out of high school, everybody thought I was a football player anyway. But they didn't understand I played baseball longer. I played baseball since I was 6, 7 years old. And so I didn't play football, until my 8th grade year. So baseball is really my first love. I mean, I was good at football, but baseball is my first love. So anyway, I ended up, signing out of high school with Clemson, because that's what people talk about. They don't remember that too, because I was going to go to Notre Dame. That was my first.
Okay, when you say Clemson, you talking about in football or baseball?
I was going to play both. Yeah, I was going to play both, because one of my buddies was already at Clemson, Scott Bevel, who played linebacker at Forest with me, and he was already at Clemson. And then at the time, when I was recruiting part, Lou Holtz was at Minnesota, then he moved to Notre Dame. So he was recruiting me already from Minnesota, but then when he went to Notre Dame, he also was recruiting me there. So they were kind of battling a little bit, Minnesota and Notre Dame. So Notre Dame was my first visit that I took my senior year.
So, these were powerhouses back then.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was definitely.
So you was one of them, huh?
I was one of them. I had a part of all the major colleges. I've had, when Spurrier at that time was Gayton Hall, he was at Florida at that time when I was getting recruited.
Before we get into that, so you would say football pretty good. You would say.
Yeah.
You played
Yeah.
collegiate. You know what I mean? You've been coaching for 30 years.
Right.
So what you doing with that star on your shirt there? If you know football, I mean, explain that to me.
I know, man. I get it all the time. I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm diehard. That's it. That's just what I wear, man. I'm a Cowboys fan.
Okay.
Ever since Tony Dorsett days, man, I've been a Cowboys fan.
What's the problem? The players or the owner?
I think it's a little bit of both. You got to remember when Jimmy Johnson was there, it was a little different. Jimmy Johnson didn't play the radio, so he kept them more accountable. You got to remember, I played with a guy who played when Jimmy Johnson was a coach. Holmes played with me at Carson Newman, played cornerback there. So those guys, every day was practice, man. I mean, you had to come correct, because if you didn't, Monday morning, you may be going home. And now with this money, all this other stuff, there's so many things that go in, and factors that most people don't think put the time in. They think more about the money than the time they putting in to get better. And I think Jerry, I mean, he's told you he's going to be the manager. He's going to be the general manager. He owns it. It's his money.
It's mine. I do
it's
what I want.
his. So he do what he wants. And I don't know, until he probably moves aside and get out of it a little bit, I don't think it's going to be that different. Because if you're trying to win, I think you're trying to get the best players. If you look at our roster, I mean, we're playing one or two guys that are good, but it ain't a superstar roster.
It was a time where he was paying all those players and he was getting the same results.
Yeah, but you got to go back when Jimmy Johnson was playing those players. I mean, he was getting Troy Aikman. He was getting Emmitt Smith.
But Jimmy was drafting.
Yeah, he was drafted.
See, now Jerry's drafting.
He is. That's the problem. He's trying to do too much, man. Yeah, he's trying to do too much. I mean, he picks out, don't get me wrong now, it may be one dude that we never saw. He finds them. He finds a rough, like Parson. Nobody really knew about Parson, but he's a man.
Parson was good coming out.
He was good, but no one knew him as what he was now. You know what I mean? As you can move him around. That's what I'm saying. We always find one dude out of the draft that no one really.
And one thing I respect about Jerry, he'll take a chance on. He don't care nothing about the bad reputation.
No.
If you play football, Jerry gonna get you. What's the end? Gregory something or something?
Oh, Gregory. I know you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, he went and got him.
Yeah.
He went and got him.
See, that's what I was talking about, the loyalty part. He did all that, and he had a chance to sign back with remember, he ended up leaving with the same money, ended up signing with somebody else. See, those are things I can't. I'm not like that. I'm about loyalty, man.
I interviewed Dante Culpepper, and that word loyalty, I believe, like you don't went off to college.
Right.
You don't been in professional. And I just think that we are different. When I say we, I'm meaning 352.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I think we bred different. Our raising is different.
Right.
And the good ones, the ones who had a foundation, the ones who hold on to the things that was instilled in us, it's hard to find that in other places.
Right.
And like this man could have went to anywhere in the country, but he chose UCF, virtually a nobody, because of loyalty.
Loyalty. Yeah.
How important is loyalty in any relationship, sir?
I think it's the most important. I mean, that's just like me. That's why I told you I wouldn't coach anywhere else. The only reason I coached at Bellevue is because when I tried to come to Forest, the principal at the time, because, Wayne and all those guys tried to get me to come to Forest, he didn't have a job and he didn't really want to move anything to make me come there. So that's why he hooked me up with his brother to go to Bellevue. And I think that was a good thing, good experience. You got to remember, I knew about Brent Hall, never coached with Brent Hall, but going to Bellevue helped me go and coach with Brent Hall. And became good friends, even to the day till he died. I mean, we still were good friends. You know what I mean? And that was the thing. I've always had these relationships with people, with older people, and learn from people. And that's what I'm saying. I've been in with good coaches, with Coach Simmons, my Coach Sparks. Coach Sparks, probably, man, people don't know about that guy, but he was over FCA. I mean, he was one of the biggest names that you can see out in that area in Tennessee. And now they made a movie about him. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I know he was an important guy, and he was all about FCA, church, spiritual. Even Wayne Yancey. I mean, I've always had spiritual people in my life, and I think that does a lot. Coming from my home, my mom and my dad, they always teach us about church and God, and I think my path has always been that way. So that's why I always try to say, with loyalty, it means everything to me.
That's right. Loyalty is so important. And to me, in any relationship, will you take love over respect or respect over love? Or you think they go hand in hand?
I think they go hand in hand. Because if you respect somebody, if you love them, you're gonna respect them. You can love somebody and not respect them. You know what I mean? But I think if you respect them, love is gonna come with it because you ain't gonna do nothing that's gonna go against what your beliefs and what they are. That's what I say.
If you had to sum up the word love in one word, what would it be?
Dedicated.
Dedication.
Yeah.
How important is family?
Family is very important to me. I mean, my parents, we're pretty tight. My brother, my sister, my son, he knows anything that, he needs, he can call, pick up the phone, call me. Even dudes who are not in my family know if you're friends with me and you've been with me for a while, I'm loyal. I rock with you by no matter what. I mean, that's just the way I've always been. And that's what I'm saying. Even if you go around town and ask people about me, ain't many people going to say bad things about me because I try to treat people the way I want to be treated. I don't try to, go against anybody else, loyalty or whatever like that. But family is everything about me.
What's the secret to a successful marriage?
Communication, spiritual. Me and my wife been married for 28 years. We were just destined to be together. She wrote in middle school that we're going to be married in a yearbook, and she didn't really remember that. But I ended up showing her that when we started dating, because we didn't start dating until my junior year in college. We knew each other, but we never dated. And so I ended up going back and pulling it out, and she says, "That's my handwriting." I said, "Yeah, you wrote this." So I think it was just destined for us to be married, man. Yeah, and that's what she's a spiritual person. That's the thing. I think we work together more. Like with my son, I did the sports part, she did the spiritual part. And we always came together. So if my son wanted something about sports or manhood, he comes to me. But it's something about the Bible. He still asks me, but he knows my wife. She's going to break it down to him.
So tell me something that you admire most about her that you may not tell her every day.
I know she's gonna say it, but it's probably gonna be about the Bible. Because anything, even guys who coach with me and they talk to her, she's always gonna tell you before you react, pray. She's always gonna say that. So that's why when guys are on the phone with me, and I usually put them on speaker, and they says, "Where is Ms. Lou at?" And I said, "She's right here." And says, "What do you think about this, Ms. Lou?" And she said, "You need to pray about it." And that's one thing she's always gonna say. She ain't gonna never react, give you advice until she prays about it and know that she's giving you the right thing. That's one thing I really do admire about her. Because we react. We ain't going to think about it, and then men's just going to shoot out and say, "This is what you should be doing."
Yeah,
there you go. But she's always going to say, you got to pray about it.
And that's so important, and that's something to really admirable to say when it pertaining to your wife. Mm-hmm. Someone that's you're the other half, 50% of Tony Cason. You know what I mean? And that's so important, and it keeps you rounded. I believe that when you're in a relationship, I tell them, hey, love alone ain't gonna do it.
No.
I love the one before you.
There you
know what I'm saying? But, it got to be a foundation.
It does.
And that foundation got to be on a rock, something that's solid. Solid, right. And it came to the point where it's like, I want to do this, you want to do that, we believe in this, I believe in that. Mm-hmm. So let's just go see what the Bible say about it.
There you go.
And we're all determined that's right. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I've said, well, what Jesus said about it. Right now, I don't want to hear nothing about no Jesus.
You're right. You're right.
But in the end, you're right. It's a foundation. It's a foundation. It's a guide to look to.
It is.
And that's the key to me. And like you said something earlier, communication.
It is. It is.
Who do you think communicate better, men or women?
Women. They do.
I agree.
They do.
Give me an example.
I think they're gonna think about it before they react. You know what I mean? Men just shoot out whatever is on their mind. Women are gonna try to think about it a little bit and see if this is the right thing that I need to let him know. You know what I mean?
I agree with the answer.
Yeah.
But I don't know about because women are more emotional than we are.
Depends on who you're dealing with. This generation, a little younger, yeah. Older women, yeah, they're gonna sit there and think about it and give you the, I should say spiritual. I shouldn't say that. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the most important part, because if you're getting somebody who just ain't never been in the church or haven't been around spiritual stuff, they just gonna tell you what they think. That's just it. And I think that's what, even though I've been in church all my life, I still think sometimes I'm 99.9% right. That's just the way I, you know what I mean? That's it.
And you know what? It's most people that's successful. Like it ain't many things that you applied yourself in you wasn't successful.
True.
You know, and it's like certain people just have it.
Right.
You know, I used to say to people, you know, you don't want to be arrogant. You know, people be like, oh, well, you think you better, whatever.
Right.
You know, I say, you know, hey, man, I've been winning all. I mean, I make the statement, you know, I'm a born winner. I've been winning all my life.
That's it.
You know,
man.
even when I was in prison, you know, God, I'm telling man, I've been winning my whole life, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Well, you ain't here with me or whatever, and I'm still winning. I'm still better off than you. You know what I'm saying?
I know, but people don't take that. And that's why I say too, because my wife get on me like that too. She says sometimes I'm a little, not arrogant, but I'm positive about myself. I've always been that way. I've never been a talker. I talk more now than I did back then. But I mean, I've always led by who I am. Yeah. And you can look at me, and that's what I said. Go back and look at my track record. I've always won.
To me, to me, it's confidence.
It's
just you believing in you.
It is. It's like Dion.
Yeah.
Everybody think he's arrogant, but he believes in his. That's him.
You know the famous quote: "Who is you when you think that you can affect me?" You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, when it boils down to it, I tell people when they allow things to annoy them or get them down, or certain people to affect their life.
Right.
I tell them, I say, man, you make a priority list.
Yeah.
And you think about all the people you love, and you go down that list, all the people you love, that person named so far down the list, you'll start laughing at yourself.
Right. You're right.
You know, I mean, and that's what I do. B does not become before A.
No.
It's just A come first. So if it's two situations before me, and I look on that's A, that come first. That eliminates the stress.
It does, you know. It's funny that you say that, because I tell kids all the time, like, how could you come into school first day in the morning, it's 8:30, you already upset? How can you? You got no bills, you got no mortgage, no kids, no car payment, no nothing. You should be the most happiest kid in the world. I know some people got some bad home lives. I understand that part. But I mean, that's why I said you can never let somebody else change your mood. And I tell my wife the same thing, because I know she has a lot of hard times at the jail because people you have to work with. You know what I mean? But I said, you shouldn't let those people change your mood. Don't let them do that, because that's what that's what some people are trying to do. Yeah. They want to change you, to make you be miserable because they're miserable.
You know, I learned being in prison a long time. I don't think I went to prison for my crime. I was guilty of 90% of what I went to prison for.
Right.
But I think I went for the experience. I went for to be the man that I am today. Right. I don't think I would have become the man that I am today
if you didn't go
without
through
that.
Right.
Well, put it this way: I don't think I had to go through it, but due to my stubbornness, he saw fit that I got it one way or another.
There you go.
We'll put it that way.
There you go.
But I learned hurting people hurt people.
True.
I'm gonna say that again: hurting people hurt people. Who are you to be happy?
Right.
Why you always walk around with a smile on your face? Who do you think you are?
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm going through this inside. I'm putting up with this and that, and you walk around smiling all the time. Who do you think you are? You know, and that's the mentality of some people. Right. Some people, if you take an 8-ounce glass and you pour 4 ounces of water in it, some people will say it's half empty. See, you're a half full man.
Yeah. Always.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And see, half full of, you can tell a lot about a person, their thought pattern, their mind frame, by asking them that very same question.
Right.
You know, that tells you everything.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I heard that I think it was Bill Gates or somebody, he had invited a lot of people, he had executives he was planning on hiring, and he wanted to hire them for his company. And he sat down and had this little, they wealthy, so the people, everybody get their plate.
Right.
And the people who took the salt and pepper and seasoned their food before they tasted, he X'd every one of them out.
True.
And see, that seemed like, well, why would he do that? That's stupid. But that's not stupid. It shows you a mind frame, a person that's, you don't know if it's already salty
seasoned,
or not.
right.
You don't know. You just putting salt on it already. You don't know.
Yeah.
So now when you add the salt and it's already seasoned, you say, oh, that's salty.
Right. But you did it. I know.
But you did it. It's
'Cause
the
I've
blame
seen
game.
people do that. I've seen people who get McDonald's fries and still add salt to it. I'm like, come on, man. You got to. That means you really love salt that much. I don't use any salt. I'm not a salt dude. I mean, I'm a pepper guy, but not salt. I just stay away from it as much as I can.
Fried chicken or baked chicken?
I'm probably baked now because I'm older. But back in the day, I mean, I'm fried. I didn't even want anything baked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But now, I try to eat more baked than I do fried.
Well,
now.
I'm going to tell you a story, man. One time I was fresh in a relationship with a young lady. And, when I leave the house, I take out what I want to eat, set it on the counter.
Right.
My favorite meal in the world is fried pork chop, pork and beans and rice.
All right.
So I put the pork chop out, so I come back, I'm in my mind, I'm finna come home and eat me some fried pork chop, pork and beans, rice.
Right.
Normally I have them to call me when they bring it out the grease. I want to get there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Hot, yeah.
And so I'm looking all over for the pork chop. I'm in the microwave. Where the pork chop at? So I go in the room where she said, oh, it's in the oven. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking she might just set the. Man, I walk in there, she don't bake my pork chop, man. You would have thought she set the house on fire. I went in there, I said, why you ain't fried the pork chop? Why you bake the pork chop?
Right.
And her answer was, I ain't feel like standing over the stove. Tony, I walked out that door, she ain't seen me for about 2 weeks. Hey, man, I tell you what, I fried pork chop serious.
It is serious. I know I do that with fish because my wife was like, we do get fish sometimes. I can eat it baked, but I like it fried. Because she'll always ask me, you want it fried or baked? And I said, come on, don't even ask me. You already know.
Yeah.
If I'm eating fish, it's fried.
Yeah.
Period.
Straight up.
There you go.
Yeah. Now, if you went on ahead and baked it, don't ask me. If you want to ask me, go ahead and, you know what I mean?
I prefer fried, but don't. Yeah, if you already done it, don't even ask me.
Why do you feel as though women, it's this thing, this trend where women are like to eat off of their husband's plate. You go to the restaurant, she orders her food, you order your food.
Right.
And she always wind up eating off it. You find that to be true?
It is true because my wife do it all the time.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I guess their taste. I don't know because my wife would do this now. Sometimes when we go in to order, I said, "Go ahead, baby, order." She'll look at me. She wants to see what I'm going to get before she order. I'm like, you already know what you want, so why are you going by what I order? But she does that. Even if she gets something different, like you said, she's going to pick off my plate.
Let's see.
Yeah.
And I think it's a part of, I heard a man say, when a man love a woman, sometimes you'll find yourself calling her mama. You'll be like, all right, mama, get this for me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Just to your spouse,
Yeah, I got
it's
you.
like the mama role. It's like, mama does things for you. Mama take care of your needs.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's the same way around, it's daddy,
Yeah.
And when you don't have a daughter, correct?
No.
See, when you have a daughter.
I have a granddaughter.
Yeah, okay, well,
I got you.
Papa.
Oh, yeah.
She
can get anything she wants.
Yeah. And she knows it.
Yeah, she does.
And it's like, and in the end, they know mama and grandmama, but them girls, they want their daddy.
Yeah.
They gonna run the daddy.
True.
To protect everything. I want to do everything daddy, granddaddy do, papa do.
True.
So I think it kind of, when a woman loves you, it's like, I just want, oh baby, you take, I want, even if it's, I want to make sure that tastes right. I want you to eat that. Let me taste that. See that. And they mean that.
They mean it. Definitely.
It's no different than that trick or treat candy.
Yeah.
Y'all bring that candy.
Make sure it's laced or something.
Yeah, let me,
Yeah.
So, you out of high school, you decided you got all these offers from Clemson, Notre Dame, all these major colleges in football. Mm-hmm. But you ultimately decided to go pro in baseball right out of high school, correct? Mm-hmm. What played a major part in that decision?
Well, I didn't ever think I was going to get drafted in baseball. Because I remember in football, I mean, I had Oklahoma, because back then you only can get 5 visits. Before 2 years before that, you can take as many visits as you want. I mean, I always went to the University of Florida. I mean, I always sent me a telegram, but every home game I always went. So that wasn't like a visit, which, I mean, I know people hate it, but I wouldn't go into Florida. I already knew that.
Yeah.
That was because they wanted me to play receiver. I didn't want to play receiver.
And that's something that I was going to say to you when you was talking about Spurrier.
Right.
And I was thinking about Culpepper. And I was sitting there when Culpepper was telling the story, I was probably like, he wasn't going to do it, make you a tight end or something.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because the stigma of the Gators,
Yeah.
Our people love the Gators.
Yeah.
But the Gators got their history.
Yeah, they do.
And
I know another guy, Derek Kruder, which became good friends of mine because I visited Oklahoma. He was at Florida back in when Spurrier was there. But anyway, he went as a quarterback. They moved him to defense.
Yeah.
He left.
And as part of that is, we're going to get you from the competition.
Right.
Such and such may get you over there. I see you good, but, I just want to eliminate the competition.
Right.
At no level, at no point in their careers was Tim Tebow ever a better quarterback than Cam Newton.
No.
You understand? At no point.
No.
you understand what I'm saying? But
yeah, but I think at that time I heard Cam talking about it too. Because you got to remember when he came in, they told him he had a package for him. He was supposed to have a package. Tebow had a package, so they were supposed to really play together. But I mean, and Tebow was a little bit, he got success, but they didn't want to take that from him.
Right.
Because back in these days, today, you'd have left NIL money now.
Yeah.
But now, back then those guys competed, but he still left. But people try to make some other stuff happen and why he left, but that ain't the reason. They didn't stick to the word what they told him when he came there.
And even not taking nothing from Tebow. Tebow won 2 national championships.
Oh, yeah. He was a good quarterback.
Well, he was a good football
Athlete.
player.
How about that?
He's a good football
there you
player.
Go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Because you can do those things in college you can't do in pros.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, you can get away with it.
Right. And but even the things that he did, Cam was better.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was. Yeah, you saw it once he went to Auburn.
Yeah, I mean, at no part of Tebow's game is better than Cam.
Right.
Maybe a leader. The man was a great leader.
Yeah, he was. And, he can motivate people.
And I love him for the fact that, he inspired, he stood for Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to tell you something. I remember watching Tebow in the pros. Mm-hmm. And Tebow had a little run, man, where ain't no way in the world these people supposed to win these games, man.
Yeah, and they won.
And I know people say, well, he's taking it too far with Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody had to say.
Yeah.
But somebody had to be on his side.
I know, but that's what I'm saying, though. That's the loyalty part. He wasn't going to change for anybody. He always said that's what his that's what his beliefs was. And he didn't change it for nobody. And he still does.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
And I commend him for that.
Oh, I do too.
I really do. I really do. You was talking about growing up in Ocala. So what's some of your most fondest memories growing up? Who are some of the better players that you played with and against in Marion County?
Playing with. Well, I mean, you got to remember, I grew up in Dunellen, which was, not in Ocala exactly. I played with a lot of guys like Robert Hunter, which most people don't know about that guy, but he was a running back, baseball player, got drafted by the Yankees. Great athlete. Let me see. Dexter, another kid was in Dunellen, was a good baseball player. I mean, I met a lot of guys through baseball because you got to remember at the beginning I didn't start with football. I was doing more baseball stuff than that. Like Kerman Williams, Bruce McDonald, all those guys in Ocala were good athletes. Like Bruce and those guys were good baseball players, so they didn't really play football much. They knew this was gonna make their money, and that's the thing. I think people find out. They knew they was gonna make their money in baseball, so they stayed in baseball. And I mean, Ricky Williams was another great athlete that I played against. I mean, it's been so many of those guys, man. Because back then, you didn't have one or two guys here. You had a whole.
Yeah.
I mean, you had 4 or 5 at this school, 4 or 5 at this school. I mean, you just knew it.
You know, out of all of these athletes, you know, for each generation, each 4 or 5 years, there's always an athlete everybody talk about,
Right.
refer to,
Right.
and in your era, you was that athlete,
Right.
Like you said, it was Tyrone Young, and right after that, you know, it's another. I interviewed Dante Culpepper, and he spoke of Steve Rim being one of the best athletes that he's seen on any level.
Right.
But I was talking to Steve Rim, and Steve Rim, we was talking about his high school career, because my freshman year was his senior year
Right.
at Vanguard.
Right.
And so I didn't know he played quarterback before
Yeah, he
that.
did. Yeah.
And he was telling me how, Steve was a great athlete.
Yeah, he was.
And how he was playing. I never seen him play quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking about how good he was. And, so he at Vanguard. So Vanguard got most of the west side back then.
Right.
Well, all of the west
All
side
the west
back
side,
then,
yeah.
pretty
Right.
much. So, everybody that I knew grew up with everything is, Vanguard. You know,
Right.
so Steve Rim. And so Steve the greatest.
Right.
Vanguard gonna overhype it. They
Right.
kind of like the Gators to me.
Right. Right.
But Steve admitted, Steve said, man, he tell it, man, I'm Steve Rim, man. I'm finna go out here and do this. And he kept hearing about this Tony Cason dude. But he said he ain't never seen it yet.
Right.
But he said, everybody going packing this stadium about Tony Cason.
Mm-hmm.
But he saying within himself, I'm getting tired of hearing about it. Man, I'm Steve Rim, man. I'm finna go out here, and that goes back to that confidence.
Right.
See how even though you were the man,
Right.
he's blossoming, but I'm the man.
He's the
Within
man.
himself, I'm the
Right.
man.
He's the
And
man.
that's what prepared him to greatness and go on to NFL.
Right. Seriously.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And he spoke of the game. He said, man, this dude, man, was this dude was everything they said, man. He said, man, this dude was the real deal, man. I mean, it got me. I'm thinking, I want to see this, man.
Right.
There ain't no reel to reels. You ain't got no reel to reels nowhere, man.
No, I got a little bit that one of my buddies got that I put on tape. I got to find him, though. But because a guy who came in after Coach Simmons, he threw all the stuff out. And the only reason I got some of them, which are not right, because some of the games are not the same thing on the reels. They're different. Right. And because me and my buddy Stan Salzer, I ended up getting them, and he ended up putting them on a VHS tape. But it's kind of hard to see because they're so old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
hard.
don't even see how we was looking at that stuff back then.
I know, but that thing would jump. You just taped up, it's cut. But that's the only thing we had back then, man. I know every day I went in there, I looked at film, always, just to see the old guys who played there before. So,
and with football, I always say, man, you got to have it in your blood, man.
Oh yeah,
you ain't gonna be no football player for daddy,
no,
and for uncle. It got to be in your blood.
It's got to be in your blood.
And like my senior year, I only had like 3 classes, so I would leave. That relationship goes back to Coach Simmons.
Right.
It was a little bit more trust than the average player.
Right.
I could go in his office.
Right.
Put in the VCR tape.
And what?
And look at film with no other person
Players
in there.
around them.
And I didn't get in trouble.
Right.
And I would go there by me playing linebacker. People do different things. They run that sweep. Some people reach block. Some people pull the guards.
Right.
Some people, everybody block down. So game time come, I know who's coming to get me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? My strength was my quickness.
Right.
I was quick,
right.
Hateful.
Yeah.
I'm trying to hurt you.
Right.
That was my strength, my attitude.
You got to be able to play linebacker.
Yeah, and my quickness.
Right.
But if they got their hands on me, I'm a regular man. You know what I'm saying? But boy, you had to get your hands on me.
Get your hands on.
And once you did it a time or two,
right.
My instincts was very in my study. Culpepper talked about the preparation.
Oh yeah,
and I was prepared. So a lot of times they don't rent that sweep, and that joker don't got me. Ernie's joker. He may be good taking the right angle. Either way it go, I got to come to him.
Yeah.
And so I said, I'm going to shoot this gap. You know what I'm saying? I guard pull. I'm going to shoot. I'm going to shoot this doggone gap because of my quickness. You know what I'm saying? I'm taking a risk.
Yeah.
But I'm the greatest when I get that tackle in the backfield. Instincts are important. How when you went from baseball first and went back to football, what carried over? What was it like to? What in baseball carried over to football to help you be successful?
Still a study. You got to remember, hitting a baseball, you got to study. I mean, different pitches, change up, curveball, whatever. You still got to get your mind right. You know what I mean? Because that's mostly is mental. I know people say it's not, but I know the athleticism I had, but mental is what you got to have too, man. Because you can't. I know in football you can't have a bad play and keep drilling on it. You got to move on to the next play. Because you got to remember, when I'm a quarterback, I'm always involved. It ain't like I'm getting like a receiver. You may get 1-2 plays and you may be off 3 or 4 plays. I'm always involved because I'm always the guy with the ball in his hand. I got to know where everybody's at on the field. I got to know what play we're running. Because, I mean, it's been times that I've called the play and I'm looking, making sure everybody's lined up where they're supposed to be. And I kind of forget where I'm supposed to be going because I got so many things in my mind. That's why I tell people that's the hardest position, just like a linebacker. You got to know. So if you're calling the defense, you know what I mean? You got to know a lot. But that's what I'm saying. You got to know where everybody's at on the field, where they're supposed to be lined up at, and what they're doing. I mean, it's a lot. And then you can't just show up and do that. Those are things, like you said, you have to study. You have to watch film. Not even that. I've just learned, on the offensive side of the ball, I know when everybody's lined up what they're doing. Now I got to know what coverage they're in. You know what I mean?
And you got a couple seconds to do it.
Yeah, you ain't got that much time. I mean, it's just like hitting a baseball, man. You got that much time for that baseball to get up on top of you.
It's almost like reaction. It's like reflex. You know what I'm saying? It's just, you know what I mean? But it takes repetition.
It takes repetition. Because that's what's the funny thing about it. My wife asked me the other day, she says, what did you do when you about getting hit? I said, babe, I tried to go as fast as I can and move. I didn't want to be hit. I tried to give you something that you couldn't hit. I'm moving always. I never stood still. Even to this day, I could tell people, I know Vanguard, those guys, robbery games, they will always try to grab me on the ground. I mean, they grab my nuts, anything. But I jump up. I try not to stay on the bottom of the pile. Yeah. When you hit me and you tackle me, I'm up. I'm out. Because those things that made me get back to the huddle so you don't have to, hold me down or do something crazy with that kind of part. But,
as a coach, when I coach defense, it's funny. It's the mentality and the mindset of the person. Like, okay, when I coach defense, of course, I'm the aggressor.
Right.
When I coach offense, to me, I'm the aggressor. I'm the dictator.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm going to force your defense.
Yeah.
I think by me being a defender,
it
helped me be a better offensive coordinator.
Right. Because you know what you're looking at. You know what they're trying to do to you.
Right. I know what. If I make the statement, it's easier to coach against a good player than it is to coach against a player who's unpredictable.
Right. Because you know what a good player is going to do.
Right.
Yeah.
I know if I do this, he's going to do that. Yeah. So that's going to be the player that's digging in his ear. And he don't know where he's supposed to be at. He catching all that.
Yeah. He may be setting you up. You know what I mean? You think he'll know what he's doing, but he knows what he's doing. He's just setting you up. And I think that's what Dion did.
Yeah.
People always laugh, but Dion always set you up. Yeah. If he wanted to pick, he'll let you get 5 or 6 yards in front of him
and run the ball.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because he got bored in some games. He said, "Man, I got to do something to get myself in the game." Yeah. So
I remember back to Wayne Yancey. I didn't know because I went out there was coaching when me and you coached together like about 2 years, 2-3 years, and I didn't know you was just getting there.
Right,
I thought you had already been there.
No, I had just came from Bellevue.
Okay, and one thing I respect about Wayne, I remember when he let me call the plays. I'm on the freshman,
right,
and 90 was the fade.
Right,
he wanted to release out. You know what I'm saying, and he let me run my own offense, but the terminology had to be the same.
Right,
which I respect him for. And I remember I throw the fade a couple times, right? And Coach White Dog, White Dog is Coach Yancey. Right. Why does he keep throwing this fade? And you're up there, you're like, look at the cornerback, the guys on the inside, we releasing to the outside. It's open off the top. I mean, put him on the hash, you got all that feel. You got everything to complete the ball. Why wouldn't I throw it? Because I threw it like 2 times in a row. They're going to line up like this. I'm going to throw it till I catch it, you know. And it's funny how, this man coached me. And And he even coached receivers when I was there.
Yeah.
And he could, he didn't see that at the time.
I know.
But you and I like,
Yeah.
it's a no-brainer. That's why we were running. That was so, it was some days, man. So who's some of the best coaches you've coached under? Because you coached under many coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the better coaches you coached under, and what have you taken from them?
Well, I've never coached under Coach Simmons, but I've took some of the stuff he did because as a player, you know what I mean. I knew once I stepped on the field, I always wanted to win because that's the only thing he always instilled in us. You know what I mean. You remember? I don't know if y'all ever did this, but when you submit in the portables and you have to hold your hands before we go to the game, we had a little saying going.
Yeah.
Those things right there, man, that people forget about. But man, I'm telling you, man, when you left that portable, you thought you was invincible because that's what he instilled in you. Because you believed in him so much because he knew what he was doing that you knew you weren't going to let him down.
And plus, you knew that push come to shove, he gonna stand up for you.
Oh, definitely.
And push come to shove, my coach should get on your coach behind.
Oh, yeah, definitely. He will. He will, and that's the thing. He ran school. I remember one time I was in the English class, and I said, "Coach, I got to get out of this class. I can't stay in here." He said, "Don't worry about it. I got you." And he moved me out of there. But I mean, those are the things. I'm not saying because I was lazy. It's just that me and that teacher weren't gonna get along together. And he moved me out of there. And it was some old football kids, but they didn't get out. You know what I mean? So that's why I think sometimes they say, "Man, you always spoil." I mean, he's always going to do something for you. But I said, "No, ain't many things I asked him to do, but that thing I had to get out of that class."
One thing he said, on this in that same chair, was first string he liked the most. Second string. So you was one of his favorites.
You all right? Now me being a coach, those things are. I mean, I help some kids. I can help in certain things in classes and stuff. But you the first string. I need you on the field. I can't let you fall to the wayside. I mean, yeah, that is very true. But I mean, other coaches are like Wayne Yancey. Because you got to remember, I played both with him. He was a receiver coach, but I mean, he was a coach of football when I did it, and I played baseball for him. I mean, I still, I played for him, and then ended up coaching with him for like 20 years in baseball. I mean, we did football together. So one time I was doing football and baseball, and he ended up, coaching his kids, helping out.
Give me a classic Wayne Yancey story.
Man, there's so many. Because you got to understand, most of the time it's about him, it's about his saying, man. It's just things he says. Even my son played for him. So that tells you how old he's been coaching. Because now my son even says things that Wayne said 20 years ago.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? My son's 30 now, but he still says some of the things that I heard him say when I was even playing.
Like pud.
Yeah. Oh, he used to tell the kids, let the dog kiss your wound, it'll get better and all that, the chihuahua. I've heard a lot of guys kept playing for him say that stuff.
Do you know why he say that?
No, I really never asked him why.
I tell you what, you ask your wife about this story.
Yeah.
It's a story in the Bible about a man named Lazarus. And he had sores over him.
Right.
And they say the dogs would go and lick his wounds.
Yeah. Okay.
See what I'm saying? So that's where that comes from.
That's probably what he got. I never thought about that.
That's exactly where it comes from.
Okay.
You know them old school.
No, I got you. I know.
And I did that. I've done that. But believe it or not, if you have you skin, we older now, so ain't no. I can't stand to have an open.
No.
Oh Lord, my goodness.
No, you can't. You can't afford to have one open.
I can't stand it. But if you do, if you notice, if let's say you got a little dog, a house dog, that dog is going to go up there and lick it.
Right.
The dog is going to do it.
Right.
And it's crazy.
It's crazy now. Yeah.
They're going to go and do it every single time. That dog was snipping, and that dog is going to lick that sore.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's I guess the medicine, man.
Hey. Yeah. But that's why I said that was one of the funny things about Coach Yancey, though, because we used to take bus rides for baseball. So he drove the bus. So, man, it's just so many stories that these kids that, like Benny Robinson, his son, we always talk about different things on the bus that Coach used to say. If you stand up, man, he hit the brakes. I mean, it's just different things he did. He always said a girlfriend is like a Greyhound bus. One's going to come by every 15 minutes. I mean, he just had so many sayings that it's just crazy.
Coach Yancey, Man, I love that man. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate him. You know, Coach Yancey was the one. You know, Simmons was stern. Coach Mitchell, stern. You know, Wagner was you know, Wagner had a little personality. Robacher, you know, Robacher and Yancey were kind of tight, but Yancey was the one that when Simmons come bite your head off, Yancey come by like, what's up with this guy, man? You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Yancey was the one to keep everybody loose.
Right.
You know what I mean? But he was very good at his job. But he would keep you loose. You know, and he's to this day, when I see him, man, it's like he haven't changed. It's like all the years just collapsed.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I want to tell a story, my Wayne Yancey story. You know, I was out there coaching with you guys, and I got arrested.
Right.
And when I went to go see, part of my problem was I had a relative that used my name before. And so to the people, I was a 2-time convicted felon with a robbery of firearm.
Right.
You know, because the person who used my name,
that's what they did.
Yeah, it was attached to me. Right. So that's why, we got to come pick this guy. He's dangerous, you know, blah, 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 blah. Right. When I'm like, you know, I had to come and show my fingerprints that I'm not him. Right. But every time next week I come, they still think I'm him because he was arrested on the William Robinson. Gotcha. He knew it's my cousin. He 1974, so he telling my birth, you know, he everything. You know, so but he didn't know that Social Security number. Right. And them fingerprints. Right. But to the people, that's me. And so from the jailhouse, I go to have a meeting inside the judge's chamber. Me, you know, my side or whatever, and then the victim, their side. Right. And all of a sudden, out the blue, Coach Yancey come walking through the chambers. You know, so you know, Coach Yancey only know how to be Coach Yancey. Right. So him and the judge is like, hey there, Wayne. You know, so they just now it's like nobody's in here but them two. Right. So then the judge kind of, you know, he straightened up, realized, you know, what time it is or whatever. Right. So he said, you know, tell me about, you know, he was like, well, you know, Wayne, well, you know, he worked for us out there. It was a good job. You know, he had a pretty good season last year. And, you know, just, you know, he just being Wayne. Right. You know, so he said, the judge asked him, he said, Wayne said, yeah, he played football for us. You know, so the judge, you know, I was pretty decent. Right. Y'all might have not been a Tony Cason. No, I got you. But you know, I was good. Yeah. He said, I got you. But I was pretty decent. So the judge say, looked at this thing and said, Wayne called me Will. Right. On my plaques and everything, everything say Will. Okay. You know, but my name is William. William, right. But they always call me Will. So the judge say, I'm 22. 91. All right. So now I'm over there, you know what I'm saying? Yes, sir. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? I'm kind of, but Wayne, you know, he asked him how was I around the players and the staff and, you know, and the judge. Wayne was like, well, you know, he played linebacker, so he got to have a little, you know, but, you know, he okay. But the point is that man came and spoke on my behalf. Right. He didn't have to do that. Right. I didn't ask him to do that. I didn't know he was going to be there. And he came and stood in the gap for me. Yeah. That's it. And I went home. When I got back to the place, they let me go that day. Right. You know, I'm a dummy. Right. You know, I go back a month later, 2 months later, do the same. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, but I just that's just something I never forgot. Yeah. And I was able to see him and tell him, man, how much I appreciated him, man. That meant a lot to me. Yeah. And he also paid me one time because he would pay me at the end of the season. Right. So he wrote my check, Will Robinson. Right. So I go to the bank, Wells Fargo, right here on 10th Street, you know, right there on 25th. Yeah. And so the people, it's like $1,200 or something like that. Something like that. I think it was $1,200. Right. So I give the people the check, whatever. So they go slip in the back and they call him. You know, as if, you know, this. Maybe, yeah, this, you know, guy. You know what I'm saying? Up here with his check, a handwritten check from Forest High School, whatever. So Wayne had the people somehow or another. I think I called Wayne Yance or something, and I'm like, man, these people, they tripping, man. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. So Wayne get the thing on speaker. So Wayne bite him.
Right.
He classic Wayne.
Right.
He bite their head off. What the check say?
All right.
I need to come up there and pull all my money out the bank or whatever. They were like, no, Mr. Yancey. I mean, that's my dog. So then when he called me back, he like, I took care of him for you. Then I said, yes, sir. Wayne, man, that's an honorable man.
He is. And that's why people don't understand. Like, I know it's been a couple of family members that's died, and I look up, he's at the funeral home. I'm like, but that's what he does. People in the hospital, he visits. If he's at the hospital, because he's usually visiting somebody anyway because he's a pastor, but I mean, he knows you in there, he's coming to see you. And that's one thing I can always say about him, man. Even if he doesn't know you, if he knows you in there, he's coming by to see you and check on you. I mean, that's just, he's always been that way and still does.
And it takes a certain heart to be that kind of person, to be that kind of man.
Yeah.
And he's affected so many lives.
Oh, yeah. He has.
I just interviewed his brother, and I've never been around Phil Yancey.
Yeah.
Philip. Wayne, my man.
Right.
Wayne, that's...
Yeah.
But the Yanceys, they're very influential to this community.
Oh, yeah, they are.
We thank them for that.
Yeah, there's so many of them, yeah. Because, I mean, I got to know them a little bit more because of the family, you know what I mean? Because they kind of, they brought me in. I mean, I knew all the brothers, their mom, which they didn't like me talking to the mom because he didn't want them telling stories how they was when they were younger. But their mom is a real funny lady. She was a real funny lady. She passed, but she's a real good lady.
What are some of the most proudest moments in your life, sir?
Probably just my legacy of things I've done in the community, not just football. I mean, I've coached kids, I've counseled kids, I've done a lot of things in over 30 years that I've been in, with teaching and then doing football. But that's probably the best is things that I've left upon kids that I see kids who call me now. I mean, I got kids I probably coached 30 years ago. I mean, my principal now is a guy I coached at Bellevue.
Now he the boss.
Now he's the boss.
You better be glad you didn't make him do them push-ups.
Yeah, I did. But I mean, I still respect him. And I mean, he knows I treated him well. But that's what I'm saying. I mean, I got kids in, doctors, lawyers. I mean, I got kids in all kind of things. But I mean, that's probably the most thing I've ever, it's my legacy and just what I've done as a father, as a husband, mentor to people. That's what you're here for, man. You're here to leave something positive for people.
Give me 3 of the top athletes that you've coached.
That I've coached?
Yes, sir.
Roosevelt Ross is one. I mean, that kid had 2,000 yards in like eight games that year.
His feet was...
Oh, yeah, he's phenomenal. He gets stronger as he goes. Let's see. Keefer Sampson. Keefer can play. He can play. Most people didn't know he's a good football player. I mean, it's hard to name 3. I coach for Benny now, which I think he's one of the top hitters that I've ever been around besides Marquez. I mean, that's what I'm saying. There's so many dudes that I've coached that, that could flat out hit. Marquez Smith could flat out hit. Benny could flat out. He can hit now. I mean, I throw to him the ball. He jumps in there now. He's 30-something. He still swings it like he's 20.
How fast was your fastball?
Mine? I threw probably in high school, 87, 88, maybe. Because you gotta remember, I threw a lot, but I played more position-wise by that time. Now, when I was in Little League, I pitched a lot because I played in Rory Moore. Most people don't know this, but anyway, I played in Rory Moore because I moved from Dunellen to here. So when we get here, my mom says, "Well, you got to play baseball," because I want to still stay in Dunellen and play because that's why I learned to play baseball really. And she says, "We can't drive there every day. That's too far." And I says, "Mom, I don't know." So we go to Rory Moore. And, it's all us. It's all black kids. So I get there and I says, "Mom, they're not as advanced as I am. I mean, I don't know if I can play here." She says, "Well, son, you're gonna have to figure it out." I went to Tuscaloosa. I said, "Nah, it's too many other people." I said, "This ain't working either." So She says, you got to make up your mind. Because you got to remember, that was my first love was baseball. So I ended up going back to Memorial and playing there. And I used to have these old guys that used to come watch me, which I never paid attention to at the time. But man, I still, saw those one of the guys like, why y'all was coming? They said, we were coming to see you play. But anyway, back to the story though. No one could catch me at that time. So the umpire would stand behind me. You never really see that, do you?
No.
Umpire is supposed to be behind the catcher.
Right.
But I had nobody that can catch me because I threw hard. And so I think I had to end up hitting one kid who, matter of fact, that kid, he was from Wildwood. He ended up playing basketball at Florida, but he was a good look catcher. But other than that, if he wasn't catching me, nobody else could catch me because they would just miss the ball because it's just coming.
Yeah.
And even I remember this side, Lakeside?
No.
Kent Lake?
Uh-uh.
Dang. Anyway, Kent Lake was on the All-Star. We had an All-Star team for Roy Memorial. And he was playing first base. He quit because he didn't want to catch the ball for me throwing from shortstop. I said, man, what is wrong with you?
Throwing that hard?
Yeah, but back then, you got to understand is when I used to wait the kids get through like 2 or 3 steps to get to first base, and then I just shoot it.
Yeah. Because
I had a good arm, and I would just throw it across there real hard. And he hated it. And he ended up wanting to quit and not play anymore. Man.
Do you believe that your ceiling was higher in baseball than it was football? If you would have went to Clemson or Notre Dame or whatever, right out of high school.
It's hard to tell. I mean, you asked me that question earlier why I chose baseball. Because you remember I got hurt. That's what I was trying to tell you. I got hurt in football. So I thought maybe that was going to be more me getting hurt again.
Yeah.
You got to remember, I got hurt. Emmitt Smith, that was November, maybe. Beginning of November. I had surgery in December on my knee. I had torn and stretched ligaments. I was back playing baseball in January.
Wow.
Yeah. Because I got to remember, we was running football then. Coach Simmons, we was running 40 one day. He says, you running? And I said, yeah, I run. So he ended up running. He wouldn't tell me. Because I hadn't ran since I got hurt. And he wouldn't tell me what time I ran. I mean, back then I was running 4.3s pretty much regular. You know what I mean? And
no, I don't know what you mean.
You don't know what I mean, but I was. And so, I mean, I couldn't believe it because the thing is, back then I played baseball with this brace. I had to play with it because otherwise sliding and all that stuff was going to hurt it again. Man, but I ended up taking it off half of the year because I couldn't really move with it. But then when I got back to football my senior year, I ended up playing with 2 braces on my knee because I didn't want to get hurt again. And they ended up getting those braces for me to play in high school. I mean, I still could run, but it's just one of those things that, you never know what's going to happen. Yeah, so that's why I chose baseball at the time.
It was a smarter career.
It was a smarter career. But I mean, if I went back and did it all over again, I might have went to Clemson and played both and then made a decision about it. You know what I mean?
If you could instantly master one skill, what would it be?
Master one skill. Dang, that's hard. Reading somebody's mind. How about that?
Okay.
Yeah.
If you could have dinner with any 3 people in the world, dead or alive, who would it be?
Dead or alive. Michael Jordan, I know, be one because he's one of my favorite. He's one of my favorite athletes. Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders.
What's the one thing on your bucket list you haven't done yet?
Ooh. I know. I want to do. I travel the world and just. I told my wife about this a couple weeks ago. I said when I retire, we're gonna travel and just eat, try all these different restaurants. That's what I want to do.
You gonna go over there in Japan and eat that monkey brain?
Well, don't know about that because I don't know if I took my son was in Japan. He stayed there for he had 2 terms in Japan. He tried to get us to come, but I told T, I said I'm not coming, man. I says I'm not flying that far. I don't want to come because he says living over there is so far advanced than where we are. I mean, he loved it, but the thing is, he came back because his tour duty over there was done. Mm-hmm. But nah, I don't know about that one.
If you could change one thing about Tony Cason, what would it be?
I don't think I would, because I wouldn't be the person I am today if I did. No.
What's one of the biggest lessons you've had to learn the hard way?
Thinking that people think like I do. Trusting people. Let me see how to put this. What you see is what you get with me, because I'm up front. I don't shoot around the corner. I shoot you straight. And I think sometimes some people shoot you until they figure you out and to get what they need, and then their true colors really come out. That's why I always try to stay who I am, because you are going to show who you are really. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I don't think no one could ever say that, because I'm always been the same person, always have and always will be.
You know, my grandmother was dying of cancer. We would sit there and talk. Mm-hmm. She would say, I'm like, I can't understand why whoever can't see it the way I see it. Why could you not? Right. And she would say, son, you different. Yeah. People ain't like you, son. You're different. Yeah. And and even when it comes to your just regular success, people that has reached your status are different, Tony.
They're different.
And you would think that, how can you not see it like that? How could you not? They just can't see it from your point of view.
Right. And that's hard, which I'm thinking that's the way I've always been. How do you not be that way? You know what I mean?
I had a friend, he said his mom used to tell him, son, common sense ain't all that common.
It's not. You're right. It's not.
And it's about experiences. It's about the things that you've been exposed to that, it's possible to you because you have achieved it.
Yeah.
Like you say, some people have to go to track practice.
Yeah. You're right.
Just put my name on the list and I go out there and blow his doors.
You got to.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I know that now. Yeah. Saying that stuff back then because I was young and just athletic, but now you have to. Being a coach, I mean, that's why, I know a couple years ago, one of my other guys, buddies of mine, Skip Austin, who's the athletic director, we was coaching, I got frustrated, and I was like, man, these kids just ain't getting it. And he finally says, Tony, they're not the athlete you were. So you can't see it. You know what I mean? I think it's easy because I've done it. And I'm trying to teach these kids, but they don't get it because they just can't get it. They're not that kind of a athlete. Right. So that's why with coaching, man, sometimes you have to go another way to get through to people.
And that's something, not saying that, I think I'm a pretty good coach. Yeah. And that's the reason why, because I understand. Yeah. Some kids have the ability, some kids don't. Yeah. You can't just...
No, you can't teach the same person.
You can't put this kid out on an island and say, you have to tackle Tony Cason. Yeah. This kid is not tackling Tony Cason. I don't care what kind of technique you show him. He doesn't have it. He either have it or he don't.
He don't.
You know what I mean? And you got to simplify it for him,
That's why coaching is so important. That's why everybody think they can, but you can't. You can't coach Will as you coached my brother. You know what I mean? It's different people.
It's funny because that year when I'm at the Forest, Ronnie Jones was coaching out to
Vanguard.
Westport.
Oh, he was at Westport. That's right, because he went with Alex and them first out there.
He was at Westport.
That's right.
So when I seen, this is like my first, I'm the offensive coordinator, so this is my first game. It was my very first game, me being the offensive coordinator. I'm finna call these plays. I got my little sheet, I look over there, it's Ronnie Jones. I'm thinking, oh, man. All right. Because like I say, Ronnie older than me. I looked up to him. Right. He's a very good football player of the offense. I'm thinking, oh, Lord, these people finna be, man, we tore their behind up. You know what I'm saying? And it's everyone that know how to play football don't know how to communicate.
There you
football.
Go. There you go.
Don't know how to communicate the information to the people.
But that's why people get mad about Dion. He knows how to communicate. He knows. He's a great player, but he knows how to communicate and tap into your talents. And that's why he knew Hunter so well, because he was just like him. Yeah. Probably better because Dion didn't play that many plays on both sides of the ball. He probably could have, but it'd been hard. But that's a lot of plays to play on both sides of the ball. People don't understand that. That is hard to do. Yeah.
Especially And each position you're
Right.
running. Ain't no playoff.
Ain't no playoff. Right.
You know, ain't no playoff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Talking about a decoy. Run fast. You're a decoy.
Yeah.
You know, if you had to listen to one song for the rest of your life, what song would it be?
One song. Oh my Lord. You come up with these questions, man. One song. Jesus is real, man. That's all I can tell you.
Straight up.
Straight up.
What's the best piece of advice you ever received from someone?
Man, I've got so much advice, man. Just be true to who you are, man. That's it. At the end of the day, is just be true to who you are.
What's the most challenging thing you've ever accomplished?
Being a husband and a father. Because you got to understand with that, I mean, I know my parents raised me well, but man, when you got somebody else's in your hand that you have to nurture, take care of, feed, teach them right, man, I see my son now, he's 30, but man, I mean, I was only at that time, I was 25, but I lived a little bit more than everybody else did because I always was traveling and gone and doing some other stuff because I've always been a little bit more mature for my age. But man, being a parent, man, that's one of the most challenging things I've ever had to do.
If you could switch lives with someone for 24 hours, who would it be?
Switch life. Man. I said God. That's always wanted, you know what I mean? Just to have that much power in your hand, just to see. I always think about how people think. You know what I mean? Why they do certain things. Why did they do this? You know, like some people who, just like the guy who just, ran through these people in Louisiana. What was his thinking? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just want to know when people do stupid things, what was they really thinking before they actually did? Did they ever just say, man, I shouldn't be doing this? Or they just didn't think about it, just did it?
You know, the question may be, what makes people do that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That goes, that's a great question to ask the wife and see what she have to tell you. Quite sure she got a pretty good answer for you, a pretty accurate answer. See, Tony, everything is spirit.
Yeah.
Everything, every emotion, every thought, it's we know it's good and evil.
Yeah, definitely.
So everything is driven by one or the other.
Right.
You know what I mean? You don't been angry.
Yeah.
And want to do something, and you remember, the cartoon, how you got the little
two people on the side
on each, and whichever one you take heed to, right, it's going to be the loudest.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So if you've been in your Bible, you've been studying, you're seeking to do right, God's voice may be a little bit more louder
than the other one, right?
Than that other one. But when you you don't cluck them upside the head and ain't nothing but this one over here.
That's true. Yeah.
And you know what his job is. So therefore, that's what drives him to do it.
Yeah. That's true.
Every man have everything within them. Mm-hmm. Every man has
you always have a choice.
A killer, a liar, a thief, a murderer, a rapist. Every man has that within them. Mm-hmm. It's about your integrity. It's something that keeps it at bay. Right. That pushes it away. But it's there. Yeah. It'll come out. It'll come out. Right. But so some of them give in to those things. Yeah,
and I think that's what I'm saying though. I don't have those thoughts, and you just clarified it, and that's why.
So if you were God, what would be the first thing you would do? Read everybody's mind, huh?
No. I mean, not read their mind. I think I try to, make everybody be equal to the same things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No one has more than the other. You know what I mean? Because I think that's what the problem comes in. Somebody's got different than what you got. Either you want it or you envy or some things like that. But if you got the same thing, still people going to be mad. You know what I mean? You got the same, like people dress like you. I don't like people dressing like me. So I try not to get closed in the same place.
Well, I'm gonna tell you now. Understand this: if everybody got the same thing, that means everybody running the 4-3 now. So,
Hey man, look, they say like when you get into the top of the level, and that's what I've learned is when you got to the highest college and pros, man, you got some dudes that come out of places you like, man, where you from? Because you like you say, it's Tony Cason on Ocala, but it's Tony Cason and all these other places, man.
yeah.
And that's the thing I tell kids too. It catches up to you because you got to remember in high school things came easy. I mean, I worked, but I didn't work as much as I should have worked.
Yeah.
You know, but when you get to college, ain't no days off. And I try to tell kids now, you got to work when days are off, when someone else ain't doing anything, someone ain't pushing you.
You got to want it.
It's like now you got a new coach coming in. And I just told a kid before we went home for Christmas break, and I says, man, hey, just because a new coach, you got to be working. You in the weight room, you haven't done anything since the season ended, but you want to play college football. It ain't going to work.
You don't want it better.
No, you don't want it better. And then you got to catch up because once you get to college, you see this dude, you're like, man, what have I been doing? Now he's already at this level. Then you trying to catch up. He keep moving. You're never going to catch up because you're behind. That's all.
And you may not even be as good as you think you ought to begin with.
There you go. You might have was good in, a forest, but hey, you ain't good at this place.
If you could create a law that everyone had to follow, what would it be?
A law.
It was mandatory.
Yeah. Be positive. Nothing negative.
Be positive.
Be positive. Anything you say, do, whatever, be positive.
And as simple as that sound, that'll be so hard.
I know.
For some people
because people can't be that. They can't. They always want to, and like you said, if they're not feeling bad, they want you to feel bad, which I don't even get that with people. I mean, why I'm bad, I try to keep it to myself. I don't try to put it out on somebody else. You know what I mean?
If I get very agitated, my best recuperation time, my best conversation when things ain't going right is self.
Right. Oh yeah.
Because the problem lies within me. So if I just get it together within me, I'll be all right. You know what I'm saying? Then I can translate. But I don't need you. Let me figure this thing out. You know what I'm saying? I don't need you. Shooting all these things. And you know what I mean?
Because you may be talking to somebody who ain't on the same level. Right. And is going to give you the bad advice. That's why.
Agitate you.
And that's another thing I was telling my wife. I said, man, why do people always come to me? You know what? People always think I got the answer. Which I said to her sometime, I'm like, man, why don't people ever just ask, hey, Tony, what do you need? Everything okay? They didn't. Because they always thinking because I don't really have too many bad days. So I'm pretty much always upbeat, positive. But I'm just saying, people always say, man, I was coming home last weekend, somebody called me and said, hey, man, such and such is going on. What do you think? I'm like, man, I'm in Virginia trying to drive back. I ain't even thinking about it. You couldn't call nobody else?
Yeah. Well, I mean, but you know what, though? Look at that as an honor.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Think about out of all the people in the world.
Yeah. I know.
What the world make you think of me?
I know.
See, to you just Tony Cason.
Right.
Like
everybody else.
To the kid, to you, I'm just coaching football. Hey, I've been doing it 30 years. I'm coaching football.
Right.
But to the kid,
man,
Tony Cason coached me, man.
Right.
You know, they don't know who you are until somebody tell them. I mean, you're not walking around bragging on yourself.
Nah.
Other people are bragging on you. So to this kid, Tony Cason, oh my God, man, Tony Cason coached me.
Right. You're right.
You know, and just in this world, Tony, it's hard to find good people.
Yeah, it is.
It's hard to find honest people.
Honest people.
And people that'll look a man in the face.
Yeah.
When he wants you to say left and you say right.
Right.
When you done that a time or two, when he want it from the muscle.
Right.
You know what?
Yeah.
I know who gonna tell me the truth.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call Tony.
That is true.
So look at that. You know, it's an honor. You know, it can get agitated and understand that sometimes you feeling like, well, who I'm gonna call? I know.
Well, I said special people, I guess. You know, I mean, it's just sometimes you don't want to be that person, but I know somebody has to be.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, when you feel like that, somebody else who love you will tell you what. Let's pray about it.
Let's pray, my wife.
That's right.
You're right. You're right.
Okay,
right.
so we're going to play a game called Fill in the Blank.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask you some questions quickly, precisely,
Okay.
and to the point. There's no right and wrong.
Uh-huh.
First thing come to mind.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
I've always wanted to.
Be successful.
I love when someone.
Man. Talks about me.
If I had to do it all over again, I would.
Made better choices.
My favorite holiday is.
Thanksgiving.
The best quality someone can have is what?
Honesty.
My childhood crush was.
Oh my God. Man, this is a girl in Dunellen. I used to, yeah. That was when I was in freaking first grade. Yeah.
Oh, you know her name.
Huh? I know, but I ain't gonna say it.
Man, you was in the first grade.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Look at you.
That's way back.
You better name a movie star. It could be a movie star.
Oh, I'm a Lisa Ray fan now.
Lisa Ray.
That's my favorite.
But I went Players Club, got you on the door, huh?
Yeah, Lisa Ray.
Can't get it out your mind.
My wife even knows that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, my oldest daughter name is Whitley because my wife at the time wouldn't let me name her Whitney. I
For
was
real?
messed up by Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
Ooh, Whitney Houston came out with that bodyguard.
All right.
If I had to travel somewhere in the world, it would be where?
In the world. Dubai.
My favorite movie is
Love Jones.
if I had to go back to any age, it would be
15.
Jesus is
My rock.
Ginger or Marianne off of Gilligan's Island.
Marianne.
When I meet someone, the first thing I notice is
Personality.
He-Man or Thundercat,
He-Man.
Popeyes or KFC,
Popeye.
Pizza Hut or Domino's,
Domino's.
McDonald's or Burger King.
McDonald's.
My greatest strength is
My heart.
when I meet someone, the first thing I notice is
The looks.
what is it?
The looks.
My greatest weakness is
My kindness.
the biggest misconception about Tony Cason is what?
I guess some people think I'm mean. Cause I'm a football coach, but I'm a big dude. But they don't really know, man. I'm really easy going. I really am. Unless you get on the other side of me, you got to really push me to get to that point.
I've never heard you do much yelling on the football field.
I don't, because usually if I am, I'm bringing the kids closer to me. So I'm not a screamer like that. I mean, if you get some kids who I've coached, they'll tell you I do get on them certain things.
I'm a pretty good guy, but I draw a line in the sand if you.
Mess with my family.
If I had to star in a movie with any actor, it would be
Denzel.
Emmitt Smith or Barry Sanders.
Ooh. That just. I mean, I'm a Barry Sanders fan, but I know Emmett is the truth because I've played against him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People don't understand that Emmett is shifty. People don't think he's that fast, but you never seen Emmett get caught, do you?
Yes,
That's what I'm saying.
I have.
But I'm saying not often. If you go back and look at tape, Emmett scores. When he breaks, It's a lot of breaks that he's gotten away from. Now, I'm just telling you, go back and look at it. There ain't many times he's gotten caught. People always say, Emmett wasn't but about like a 4.6.
Yeah.
But I mean, when he got an open field, Emmett was gone.
Know about that one. About the fact check on that one.
You may have to go look. Because I was just seeing the other day when they were showing, when Troy was talking about the other day, Emmett had a couple breaks that he just breaks out, these 40, 50-yard breaks. He's gone.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, man. And you got to understand, too, Emmett's been playing, man. I've been hearing his name even when he was in middle school, man. He's been the dude ever since I've known.
Derrick Henry or Adrian Peterson?
Adrian Peterson.
Adrian Smith or Jarvis Williams?
Jarvis, man. Adrian can go, but Jarvis, man. I'm going to tell you this story. We have workouts in the summer. Mm-hmm. And Coach Yancey says, man, Jarvis ain't done anything. He loved Jarvis, matter of fact. Yeah. I'm telling you, loved him. Anyway, he didn't come work out. So we end up, when we get back, usually we do some tests to see what the kid's been doing over the summer. If you ain't been showing up, it's going to show. So, man, I said, Jarvis, what you been doing, man? He said, man, Coach, I was working, man. He's been doing fences and some other stuff. Man, Jarvis jumps in there, man. That dude don't miss a beat. I'm telling you. Besides Roosevelt Ross, Jarvis is probably one of the other kids I'm telling you, pound for pound, is a dude.
The only thing back then, Coach Yancey, he didn't realize it, but he would always run, they would rotate Jarvis and Adrian.
Yeah.
And Jarvis would always run up the middle, and Adrian always run to the outside.
Yeah.
So he was predictable
because you know why?
Jarvis could pound it.
Yeah, because Adrian didn't like that.
Adrian ain't running on the inside.
Nah, he ain't like that.
Adrian ain't running that. You can call it.
Yeah, you can call it.
He's still
going to bounce. That's why I call kids now who do that. I call them MCYFL because that's what they do. Yeah, they always bounce.
Fastest outside. Man beats it outside.
Oh, yeah, because that's all it is in MCYFL. You faster, you get outside and beat them.
Whoever run a sweep and you win all day, you got the fastest player.
But you got to understand, too, back then, too, we also had Fabian. We had a couple other running backs. We had so many dudes back there, man. It was hard to give them all the ball. But if you just had Jarvis by himself, he could have broke some records, man.
Beast. Yeah, he's a beast. He was built the way he was built. Just muscles everywhere, all out the side of his forehead. He had muscles, He probably one of them kids, 3 years old, walking around already muscled up,
I know, man. I ran into him before he got in trouble, but, man, we was at the gas station. I see this Rolls Royce. I'm like, man, this kid, who is this? He opens the door and it's him. And I said, man, where you been? Because, in his school, he would always come to my class because teachers... He had this one teacher said that Jarvis always caused problems. I said, man, he don't even say anything. Ain't no way. I said, if he does, just send him to me. Just send him to my class. But, Jarvis out, he's one of them kids, man. Yeah, he draws to you.
I tell you what, this part of the episode is called AMA, where you, Tony Cason, get to ask me, William Robinson, anything.
What made you start this platform?
Make a long story short, I had spinal surgery when I was in prison. I done 18 years in prison. My last year I spent in infirmary, and that's the hospital part of the prison. And I always read my Bible. Always, I meditate, I fast every now and again. Right. And as I continue to do these things, my last 3-4 months, I kept hearing the word podcast. Right. Which I have never heard before in my life. Right. I didn't know the definition. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know how to spell it. I didn't know nothing. So I'm asking people, hey, man, what is a podcast, man? So I come home, tell my family, God told me to do a podcast. They say, well, look it up on YouTube. YouTube? What is YouTube? I don't know nothing. Right. When I leave, there's no Facebook, no Insta, no nothing. Right. No flip phones, no nothing. Right. Let me say no touch, none of these smartphones. So I come home, I continue to do good things. See grandmother, visit the nursing home, all these things. But I didn't podcast. So I fall, I break my leg. And I broke my leg, I thought about Jonah not going to preach to the city of Nineveh. Right. And the whale, the fish swallowed him up. So me, broke leg, laying up in this bed 4-5 months, can't move. I said, well, Lord, you let me walk again, I promise you I'll podcast. Right. I set a pen and paper beside my bed. When I woke up that next morning, I had wrote down on that paper, Talk, Love, Communication. That's the name of this podcast. So the long story short, I'm being obedient to God.
Okay, gotcha. I always wonder why you did that. The other thing is, man, that's why I always ask. You know, and that's the funny thing you told me to ask you this, because I told my wife the other day we was watching these shows, and I says, man, I wish I could just go to prison, just to see how it is. I don't want to be there, just to. She says, no, you don't. I said, but I don't think they understand. I just want to see how it really is. I've heard stories or whatever, but never me being, you know what I mean? Unless you're actually there, you don't really understand it. That's all I'm saying.
What you want to know?
I mean, I'm just saying, you see these stories about people going in, you got to watch your back. You got to see if these dudes are bad. These dudes are bad. I don't know how it really functions when I wouldn't even be able to sleep because I'm thinking, who's about to come at me next?
That's real. See, it boils down to, a man like you wouldn't have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because you may do something bad, but you already a straight up dude.
Right.
You're a straight shooter.
Right.
See, when you're a manipulator, these guys are, but some of them the best in the world. I mean, they'll wake up and say good morning to you.
Right.
At 5:30, good morning, because they know they're going to ask you for a ramen noodle at 8 o'clock tonight.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You got some of the best in the world. You got some slime balls now, but you got a few decent people that made mistakes.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? And the decent people that made mistakes really don't have a problem because they straight up and you don't mingle with foolishness.
Right.
It's about respect.
Right.
If you give respect, you're going to get respect.
Right.
Now, sometimes you be in a situation where a lot of these jitterbugs, they young and they dumb and but how you get tangled up with these jitterbugs is the question.
Right.
See, the problem in prison now is you got people our age wants to be the jitterbug.
Oh, I got you.
So now the respect is gone.
It's gone. Right.
Instead of, it used to be the jitterbug come in and want to be like the old school
guys. Right.
But see, the old school want to be the kid. So now you got a real old school. Right. You know, me, I went in and I got arrested at 29 years old. So I wasn't a kid. I was very mature. Right. Mentally, I already ain't played games. You know, I'm a man, and I will get on your behind. Right. You know what I'm saying? If push come to shove, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, it never really got that bad for me. I've seen some things, some stabbings, some people that you've been talking to for 2-3 years. He's your friend. Right. And then one of these broke wrist people come in the dorm and all of a sudden now your friend is, what are you doing, Tony? Right. Tony. Right. What the? Yeah. You know, so, you know what I mean? So you grow to never take nothing for granted. See, my relationship with God flourished quick because when you wake up in the morning, you pray for your family. And people say, well, you got to leave it to God. That's what you have to do. Because there's nothing that you can do. There's nothing you can do about it. And see, and it allows you to, you cut things off because you meet people. Right. And we was talking earlier about that priority list. So when you got beef with me, or I don't let you agitate me. Right. See, I'm thinking about mama, daddy, grandma, my children. Right. You know, the dog, the cat. I remember I used to have a rabbit. Right. And then it's Tony. Yeah. So Tony named so far on the list. Who is Tony? Right. You know, and me, I would say things like, bro, I was living 47 years before I met you, man. I mean, in the end, I ain't got time. My words are short. It's to the point. So I don't have time to. Yeah. The bottom line is, bro, I'm asking you, why you feel offended. But if you feel like you just a hater. Right. It is what it is, man. I'm ready to go on and then, but respect, man. You give respect, man, you will get it. Okay. You know. But you do have to watch over your back. You got people around you. Yeah. And see, by you giving respect, they take sometimes as a weakness. I got you. And sometimes you may have to set an example, but you have to think, man, should I jeopardize? Right. You have to make split decisions. Right. You have to process information very fast. Because hesitance and whatever, you have to be. I got you. Kind of like playing. You got to make a split decision. I'm going to take this. I got you. Straight up. And you see how you were able to relate that to that. I got you. See, that's the same thing Jesus done, like with parables.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you make it where the people understand.
Right.
So like us football players, I can say to you, man, listen, it ain't no different than you back there in the shotgun and the quarter and the center hiking over your head.
Uh-huh.
You got to just do it, everything off limit. You just got to do what you do from there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So did you have the years that you got? Was that the years you were supposed to get?
Yes. Well, what do you mean by that?
Let me see.
You mean did I have to do extra time?
What was your sentence?
My sentence was 21 years.
You did
18 years.
Okay.
See, you have to do 85% of your sentence.
Right.
They call that good behavior.
Okay.
That's your earliest I went home at my earliest date.
I got you.
That I can go home.
Mm-hmm. So how did you get the news that you was going to be when you was going to be leaving? You already knew.
Well, see what they do is every month they give you a game time sheet.
Okay.
With your date on it.
Okay.
Like when I first went, my date was in 24.
Yeah.
But every month they'll give you 10 days.
Right.
Until you meet your 85%, and then it'll stay the same.
Gotcha. Man, what you think when they told you had 21 years? That's a long time.
Believe it or not, I remember I had a roommate, a guy I grew up with. He had got sentenced to 20 years, and he was coming back from prison. I was like, dang, man, how could you? What were you thinking, man? I was like, man, you ain't ate McDonald's in 21 years. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And to me, I stayed 4 years in the county jail, man. It's just, it's just, you just want it to be over, man. At least I know.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
No, I got you.
It was like, and I remember like riding on the bus, you know what I'm saying, on my way to prison.
Mm-hmm.
And you looking at 27, you looking at the crystals over there.
Right.
Dang, man, I ain't gonna see the crystals no more.
Right.
15 years. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like it kicks in, man, reality.
Yeah,
you know, that's why I live my life by there's no second chances.
No.
You know, you don't get to say I'm sorry. Ain't no sorries.
Right.
Society don't want to hear I'm sorry.
Nah.
You know, people don't want to hold their children accountable.
Mm-hmm.
The world do not want to hear I'm sorry.
Right.
And people gonna hold you accountable. And they ain't right in the judicial system.
Right.
But I don't blame them because I place myself in their hands.
Right.
Now they're gonna do what they do when they get you.
Right.
But don't give yourself to them. You train your kids, you raise them to not to put yourself in these positions.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
You're right. Yeah. That's why I always told my son. I told him if you do something that, let me see how to put it, that I haven't taught you, you're on your own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm not coming to jail, not coming to visit you. I'm not, because you know better. Yeah, I know sometimes people make mistakes. I understand that part. But I'm just saying.
You know, that's the thing, Tony. You know, some people, you take with no disrespect to this statement, you take a good at two shoes.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, from get-go, your structure's in place,
right.
College,
I got you.
Professional. You're good, you ain't no wrongdoer.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Let's say he in the wrong place at the wrong time.
True.
Wrong crowd. Mm-hmm. He don't know his friend dabbling into whatever.
Right.
And because the system don't care.
Right.
It's great punishment.
Right.
You know. So let's say he's in that situation when you say, I'm not coming or whatever. Man, that's the worst thing. That's because, man, I'm going to tell you something, man.
I think it was a way for me, my tactics, just to get him to think not to do it.
But I'm going to tell you something, man.
Because I got a buddy of mine whose son's in there now, and I know it's hard for him too now, but because he went 3 years, it's my godson, got out, now he's back in there. And I just talked to him about a month ago.
See, when they go to doing all that backwards and forward.
Yeah, I know.
You gotta.
I know.
And sometimes, man, you know the old saying, they keep going back, they left something in there.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
You know, and
yeah.
I'm telling you, you know, a lot of times, and a lot of people just have a lot of men, we suffer with childhood trauma, a lot of things that we don't deal with.
Right.
I had a caller call my show last week. This man, 45 years old, and he was saying this is just his second Thanksgiving home since 2003. Because he been in prison and stuff. And he say that when he's in jail, that's the only time his family tell him that they love him.
Right.
And you know, and since then I call him.
Mm-hmm.
Be like, bro, anybody told you they love you today? You know, just because this a 45-year-old man, he's really crying out.
Right.
You know, he told me one-on-one, he said, man, I don't ever remember my mom telling me she loved me. Yeah. You know, and these things, these are real pain and hurt and suffering. And that's why a lot of times we run into that crowd you were asking earlier.
I got you. Right.
Hurting people hurt people.
Hurt people. Right. That's true.
Okay, this is the final part of the episode. You're going to look directly into this camera over my shoulder here. Mm-hmm. And you're going to give my audience your final thoughts, sir.
My final thoughts is today was a little different. I mean, I've done 1,000 interviews, you know, from college and baseball and all this other stuff, but this has been a little different. I think you're doing a good job. And I think you're reaching out to people, letting people see who people really are, good people, bad people. I think it's a platform that people need to hear. Not everything, but some things. And I think spiritual, you can see it, that you have it. I think, you know, people need to tune into you and listen to some of these things, because some of these things are everyday things that are happening. And I think that's all my thing is, trying to make people better than who they are, man. That's my beliefs. And I think hopefully me touching different people have made people better people than what they were. I don't ever want to leave people the same. I always want to leave something that's positive that I've put into their life. And that's my main goal and purpose in life. That's it, man.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We want to thank Mr. Tony Cason for his final thoughts. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I am your host, William Robinson, TLC Talk Love Communication. We have had a very special episode of My Story with one of Marion County's finest, Mr. Tony Cason. He's an educator, he's a football coach, he's a dad, he's a husband, he's a lot of things, and all things are positive in the life of Tony Cason. He has some very influential in our community, ladies and gentlemen. We want to thank him for joining us today, ladies and gentlemen, sharing his wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And remember, we only got one life to live, and it's a whole lot easier with love and communication. We can donate to this channel with Cash App, Anybody Love You with a U, PayPal at Robinson74 Zelle 352-209-3306. And remember, if nobody told you they love you today, William Robinson loves you.